So you surprised me a few moments ago when you showed up with MJF's BFF. So, I mean, I guess you can explain a little bit about that, because I would say for a lot of people, MJF is not their BFF, unless you're talking about Long Island.
Well, clearly from the accent, I'm from Long Island.
Right.
So, yeah.
But not think you compete with Staten Island.
No. I'm not a ferry boy.
Right.
Listen, I will say this. I put that on there to at least believe in my heart that if we knew each other, we would be BFFs.
Oh, well, that's nice. You know how he treats his friends and his fans. There's
like
well-documented cases of that.
Like the saints they are.
Yeah.
He would never go on national television and call everybody a bunch of uneducated marks live on TV. He would never do that.
No. Right. He would never say anything about Brian Pillman's mom on national television. No,
who, by the way, did you see she passed away?
Oh, no, I did not.
She did.
Oh, man, that's unfortunate. Now that joke's probably not going to age well. So.
No, it's not going to age well at all.
No, oh man.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, so I know the event of all events happened last night, and we kind of talked a little bit about off camera with Hell in a Cell, right? That was Sunday night, or was that Saturday night?
No, that was Sunday night. NXT had a show Saturday night.
Okay, so I'm people who watch the channel and seen me talk about Wrasslin, they know that WWE is not one of my go-to promotions that I don't really keep up with, but I do know enough to be dangerous. And I know that, we talked a little bit also about the Cody Rhodes, Seth Rollins match, but I'm interested to ask you also, while you maybe tell me a little bit about how that went down, I also want to ask you what your thoughts on about the Sasha Banks, Naomi stuff.
I guess they haven't done themselves any favors.
Right.
We'll just put it that way. I mean, at the end of the day, you're being contracted by a company. If they tell you to do something, you should do it.
Right.
But,
unless it's illegal or immoral, I would say.
Right.
That.
I mean, it'd be like me going into the school and saying, you know what? Screw safety,
Right.
I'm gonna do what I want to do, that kind of thing. It's like it or not, that's your employer. If they ask you to do something, you should do it. But at the same time, I kind of respect them for, sticking to their guns about the creative or whatever not being very good, and I think that's what it all comes down to, is that they're just unhappy with the direction that they are going. So if they're independent contractors and they don't want to do something, then I guess in their mind they can do what they want to do.
Sure, I see that.
I don't necessarily like the way they did it. I mean, they do it the day of a show,
right?
While the show is going on,
mm-hmm.
And I think I've seen something where I think some suspensions have been handed out or something. Who knows? But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for me, excuse me, I believe that's 100% accurate. I mean, at the end of the day, they were paid to perform. They were paid to go out and do whatever it is that they're doing. So unless it's something that goes against some legality issues or their moral fiber or something that says, I don't feel comfortable doing this, then there's no reason for you not to do that. I mean, there's plenty of wrestling in anybody's job, and we're talking about wrestling here, that they don't obviously want to go out and do whatever it is that they're being told to do, because they don't want to look weak. They don't want to, turn over the belt. They don't think it helps their story or their brand or whatever nowadays and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But, they're paid to go out there and do what they're pretty much told to do. They're athletes, but at the end of the day, it's a scripted show. It's a scripted outcome and all that. And when you're not performing, doing your job, then yeah, definitely it's problematic. And the way they did it was the worst. Is leaving hours before a live event. I mean, that's just like, when you do that on purpose. Like, you know what you're doing. You know you're going to hurt the company when you do that. It's like when somebody's counting on you to show up to work, like you said, as a teacher, and then you call at 7:30 and say, I'm not coming in after you expected to be there, and now they have to scramble to find somebody, right?
And that's my job. That's actually how I start my day every day, is getting calls like that and having to scramble. And so you're absolutely right. And the person I feel the most sorry for in this whole thing is Naomi, because this is not the first time Sasha's pulled something like this.
Right.
Kind of gone home pouting because of her lack of, I guess, her like or dislike of the creative. She's done that before and been gone for a while. But she's got other prospects. She was on that Mandalorian series. I'm sure she could find, acting gigs and stuff.
Right.
But she's taking Naomi with her in all this. And that's the person that I feel kind of bad for, is that I don't know how much of it was Naomi really believing and buying into what was going on, or how much of it was Sasha kind of dragging her along.
Right.
So,
yeah, it's definitely, I think it's definitely will be interesting to see how it all unfolds over the next weeks and months, because I think both of them have not much left on their contracts. So my understanding is they're going to be done with their contract pretty shortly. Then, there won't be a clause or anything to keep them from popping back up somewhere. So, so it's not like them got released and they have to wait like a 60-day no-compete clause or whatever it is. When their contract's up, it's up. So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, like for me, and I know that I know Sasha Banks has mentioned this in the past a lot, but I feel like nowadays a lot of people use mental health as their excuse not to do their jobs. You hear that a lot now, especially in the professional world, like just for people who do jobs. But you hear that a lot in wrestling now, that your mental health is important. Of course, it is important, but also you can't use that as a crutch to keep you from wanting to do your job.
No.
And I think that we have to be careful, because then for the people who really need it, for the real cases, it cheapens it from them when they really do have something come up in their life they're struggling with. I think of that. What's that? Smiley Kylie Ray or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like she uses that like once every 6 months. And I mean, it is like at this point you just stop caring. Like even though maybe she really does, but it's like every time it's like either you're just like you gotta go all the way in and just work through it, or you need to take a step back permanently. You can't straddle the line. And so when I see stuff like that, it just kind of makes me go, all right, here we go again. Like, who's going to take a chance on them this time when they're paying them all this money and then they're going to back out 3 months into it, So I think it just, like I said, when I hear that kind of stuff, just finish out your contract. If you're not happy, go hit the bricks. You can go.
Don't resign. Don't resign. It's exactly what John Moxley did.
Exactly.
At least he saw his contract through.
Yeah, and I think at the end of the day, right now is probably one of the best times to be a pro wrestler, because there's so many options that are out there for people that are viable options. Whereas it's like a handful of years ago, that was just not the case. But I mean, you have obviously AEW, you have All Japan or New Japan, you have Impact, you have MLW. You have some viable options that are out there. Ring of Honor, that is going to be back and stuff. So I mean, there's a lot of stuff, and that's not including Mexico and other places that are also big. So I mean, there's tons of stuff out there. Now, is it going to be the same exposure and money that WWE? Probably not. But also you got to think the independents are blowing up. I mean, I don't know how it is out in your neck of the woods, but it's probably crazy. But in Indiana, which doesn't really have a pedigree for independent wrestling, there are like promotions all the time coming through town or popping up, having shows all the time. And I mean, it looks like it's drawing pretty well. So, I mean, again, am I saying that, selling out, Market Square Arena? Absolutely not. Am I saying you're going to be cutting a 6-figure paycheck? Absolutely not. But it wasn't like it is, like even a decade ago when there was only one guy in town.
Yeah.
So So I don't know. Like I said,
not too far away from where I'm at right now. They're having a Gallows and Anderson have a promotion.
Nice.
In the big city of Dublin, Georgia.
Dublin. Well,
yes.
Top of the morning to you.
Top of the morning to you. And they had some pretty big names on the card there. EC3, the former Braun Strowman.
Oh, yeah, Adam Scherer, whatever his name is now.
Yeah, Adam Scherer. I think I want to say Joey Janela was going to be there. Anyway, so yeah, a lot of independence going on. For sure.
Well, I think what do you call it? Good Brothers, I don't think they're with Impact anymore. I don't see them on there anymore. I think their contract must have expired or they're on an extended break because they haven't been on Impact in what it feels like months unless they popped in recently. Because I watched a lot of the highlights for Impact and I have not seen them at all. So I don't know what's been going on. Maybe they're still there, but who knows? Do you know anything about that?
No, I don't because I really don't keep up with Impact at all. If they have a little video pop through my YouTube feed, I might check it out if it's something that catches my eye. And they haven't been on AEW either. So
now I'm hoping they're going to start doing some crossover stuff with Ring of Honor and stuff now that being there. I know, Donna Purrazzo. Is that what her name? Donna? Is it Dana Purrazzo? Deanna. Deanna Purrazzo, she popped in a couple weeks ago and lost her belt to Mercedes Martinez. So, I know that they're doing some stuff together again recently.
Right.
And I'm assuming when Kenny Omega comes back, you're going to have Don Callis and all that kind of start up again.
Yeah.
So, I'm looking forward to seeing what that looks like. But, for me personally, over on Impact, I like Taya Valkyrie. I'm a big fan of her, and I like her. But outside of that, there's only a handful of others I can think of that I even care to even kind of keep up with, like Mickie James. I watched one of her stuff. Hey, what up, Chris? Thanks for popping in for a bit. All right, go ahead to work in South Korea, man. You keep doing your thing. Or should I say, annyeonghaseyo. So
what he said.
That's what. Yeah, exactly. You're welcome, buddy.
That's right. Thank you for that.
Yeah. So let's get back to WWE a bit. Because I wanted to ask you some. You saw the Hell in a Cell. Mm-hmm. What were some of your positive takeaways, and what were some of maybe your not so positive takeaways from that premium live event?
You said that you know just enough to be dangerous. Look at you. They're no longer pay-per-views. They are PLEs, premium live events. Very, very nice.
I had my moments.
They kicked it off with the triple threat for the Raw Women's Championship. It was a good match with Asuka and Becky Lynch and Bianca Belair. Belair retained as the champion. Good match. A lot of stuff going on.
Did Asuka take the pin?
Asuka did take the pin. Becky hit her finish on Asuka. Went to pin Asuka. Then Bianca took her up, threw her out of the ring, and then she covered Asuka for the win. Yes. So Asuka took the L. But yeah. I'll be honest with you, Jason. The main thing I wanted to see, and I really didn't pay super close attention to what was going on. I kind of watched the Theory versus Mustafa Ali U.S. Championship match just because I guess Theory's the next big thing they're saying.
So they say. That was a good match. Ali was the hometown guy from Chicago because they were from the United Center. So they're using the United Center now. Oh, that's nice.
So Theory retained there with some shenanigans going on. But the main thing I wanted to see, especially after the announcements, it's almost like before these shows, there's always a little nugget of information dropped out there that you're wondering if it's real or if it's not. And we're going to get to the MJF stuff because that was a classic case of this. But I saw where Cody was injured. They announced it sometime Saturday, I believe, that he was injured, and I wanted to find out what it was gonna, because he said I'm gonna wrestle. So he comes out, takes off his jacket, his little red, white, and blue frock that he comes to the ring in. And dude, when I tell you the whole side, all the way down halfway down his arm, and this whole area was just black and blue and purple colored, from where he tore his pec. I think he was lifting weights and tore it.
Oh wow!
And that's a pretty significant injury if you consider everything that they do pretty much uses their chest. You know, anytime they slam somebody, do all these moves or whatever. So I was curious as to how they were going to work around that, and they got very creative. He took very few bumps but at the end of the day, they said that he can't tear it any worse than it's already torn. So that's why they allowed him to do the match.
Wow.
So they put him over. And that's what I don't understand. Is that Mike?
Yeah, that's Hitman Mike. He's a big wrestling fan.
And I like his hairstyle too.
Yeah, his hairstyle is pretty sexy.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of his hairstyle.
Yeah, he's bringing sexy back.
But yeah, so, I didn't get it, Jason. They put Cody over, and Cody's fixing to be out for an extended period of time. This is the same injury that John Cena had back in 2007. I don't know if you remember when he came back in the Royal Rumble, and very unexpected. I think it was only after 3 months. Same injury. So they're saying 4 to 6 months.
Yeah, I'm not.
And they put him over. That's what I don't understand. Like,
you would think you would think whatever plan they had for him would be changed, because he's going to be on the shelf. So let Seth Rollins get the win, and then he goes and runs with it for a while. And then, Cody comes back and puts the kibosh on him after he runs, and he runs him into the ground or whatever, saying he beat him or he was scared to show up or whatever. Right. There's probably a lot of ways you could go that route, and then that'd have been cool. So I don't know.
This was the third match of a trilogy, right? So this was the third match. Cody Rhodes is already 2-0.
Right.
So he's already been put over by Seth twice now. I don't know. I don't know why you'd put Cody over knowing he's fixing to be out. They always, like when a wrestler's leaving a territory or whatever, he always does the honors. He puts the guy over because they're leaving, and the guy that's staying on TV needs to be strong. I guess they felt like Seth could win or lose and it wouldn't hurt him. Maybe that's what it is, but didn't make sense to me. But it was a great match. Like I said, they figured out ways to make it good without putting a lot of stress on the injury. They brought out the old Texas bull rope, where they attached themselves with the bull rope with the big bell in the middle, and they used that, and they figured it out. They figured it out, and Cody hit 3 of the
crossroads.
He hit 3 crossroads, and then or he hit 2, and he was going to hit the third one, and then threw him down, grabbed some kind of foreign object. Oh, it was a sledgehammer. They brought a sledgehammer into it. Each of them went for the pedigree. Cody actually hit the pedigree, just a little homage to Triple H there. But he got the sledgehammer out and hit him with the sledgehammer to get the pinfall. Good match. Yeah, I didn't get the ending, but good match.
Yeah, I feel like I don't know, like I can't remember who said this, and it was actually a wrestler. I can't remember what the wrestler was. It might have even been Seth Rollins, like in cut a promo on Cody the week before. He goes, "You can't go to another company and then crush what do you call it? Like the what's the word I'm looking for? The throne. You can't go to another company, crush the throne with a sledgehammer, talk all this negative, crap about where, that you didn't ever get your full due and blah, 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 and then come back and then like just be like the second coming. Like it doesn't work that way, but it kind of feels like it is actually working that way. I mean, not only does he hit him with the sledgehammer, the same sledgehammer he used to break the throne, he puts him in the pedigree. You're telling me. Yeah. Then the bull rope thing, which was like already old news. They did that on AEW already, like 3 months ago. Right. So now they're rehashing an AEW match. It's just like I don't know. Like I don't know. I mean, I know that I haven't seen it, so like you said, it might have been a good match, and I'm not saying they're not having a good matches, but man, I mean, I feel like at WWE is just they're losing a lot of their good talent. The other talent's not happy. And it seems like they're spinning their wheels on things that have already been done, and they're putting over the one guy who ran him into the ground for the better part of 6 years, and now, and even on his way out, like you said, he was hurt, and here he is talking smack about, or they're letting him win again. So I don't really know their strategy, but like you said, we'll see. Hey, what up, Doug? What up, Joe? We got a handful of people in here. I'm shocked. I thought it'd be like nobody in here, but yeah, man.
You got the voice that attracts like a magnet.
The voice of the voiceless, if I will.
You have a face for radio.
A face for radio. Video kill the radio star.
Not only, Jason, have they brought this guy in that, yes, has running down. One of the things Seth said in that promo that you were talking about is that he left because he wasn't good enough. Which was true at the time. He was doing that Stardust stuff. And but not only have they brought him back, Jason, they have made him their number one babyface. Their number one babyface. He I don't know. I mean, good for Cody because he's getting paid. I think that's what it was all about.
Oh, sure, dude. It's all about the money. I mean, I don't care what Cody or anybody does. Because Cody had creative freedom for the most part over at AEW. He had literal ear of the owner, and then really what his freaking wife was working for AEW and just basically like playing around in a sandbox. Like she really doesn't really do much, but she's there. And then the only reason why you would leave is if you're not getting money you think you deserve. Yeah. So I mean that's really what it boils down to. And we got John Mangini in here. We got another Hall of Famer in here. We got Otto's in here, Mike's in here, Joe's in here, Dr. Exclusive, Doug's in Boston.
I feel like if Mangini's in here, I feel like I need to pull out something rare.
Yeah, just don't pull out what I hope you were with those rainbow shorts you were talking about earlier.
That would be rare.
That would be rare. That'd be a 1 of 1.
Yes, a 1 of 1.
Yeah, but I will tell you. Well, I mean, here's the thing. I think Mike made a good point, and I agree. Vince McMahon has no strategy, and I agree. the strategy is there's no strategy. Like,
I'm gonna give him a pass, okay? And here's what I'm gonna give him a pass on this match because they had this story building, and they got a bump in the road. They got a pothole in the road with this injury, and they had to try to work around it in short fashion. So I'm gonna give them a break on that. It'll be interesting to see what Cody's supposed to address the masses tonight on Monday Night Raw. So we'll just have to see what he has to say and what direction they're going. I don't know who the big baby face is going to be once he leaves. It's Lashley. I mean, I don't know who else it would be. Riddle as a singles guy. I mean, how long is Orton out for? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't really know. I don't know. Who knows, dude? But at the end of the day, I feel like they rely on nostalgia when the regular programming is not doing it for people. So they bring back the old guard like Stone Cold and whoever. They'll bring them back and stuff. But I think that they don't have enough. They've depleted their roster. And the rest of them, they don't know what to do with them. I mean, like you always hear from the people who have left, like John Morrison and all those guys. They'll just say, we don't have anything for you. You're just gonna have to wait." Like I don't know how you can do that time and time again. But I mean, that is gonna be written on their tombstone. We just don't have anything for you right now.
Right.
with creative. So I just don't get it. I mean, and now that AEW has it all figured out, they're perfect by no stretch of the imagination. But I feel like there's so many storylines going there that even if it's not a storyline that you like, you can at least give them credit for there is a storyline. There is something going on.
They got the best storyline maybe in years that's brewing right now, and I can't wait to get into it because it was the whole reason that I reached out to you to see if you wanted to hop on and chat. This is, and you know, I'm not the biggest AEW fan. As a matter of fact, that's why I like getting on here with you, a little point counterpoint.
Yeah.
But I got to tell you, man, what they're doing with this whole MJF thing, if it is what I think it is some of the best stuff that's happened in the biz in a long, long time. So how much of it, where do you want to start with this? Because I want to jump into this now. This is good stuff.
All right. So, I mean, I think it's a work. I think it's a work.
I absolutely think it's a work.
I think that, I mean, MJF and Tony Khan, for that fact, are like wrestling traditionalists. You know, it is for them, it is as much as it is entertainment as it is story. Where I mean, because obviously Tony Khan's already proved he's all about storylines. I mean, they just had one paid off with the chick from Varsity Blondes, joining the House of Black. I don't know if you know that or not, if you watched that. But I mean, that storyline's been going on for the better part of 6 months now. And, and I mean, we talk about all the storylines they've been doing for some of them have been going on for 2 to 3 years, for crying out loud.
Right.
So Julia Hart, that's her name. So
Julia Hart, okay.
So I mean, Tony's already into the whole storytelling. As far as MJF's concerned, I mean, he doesn't break character. So, he's not MJF, and then he's not at work, and then he's Maxwell, on the circuit, doing the meet and greets and all that kind of stuff. I mean, he when he walks out in the public, he is MJF the same the whole time.
Right.
I mean, the dude is like making fun of fat people, handicapped kids, little kids. I mean, he doesn't care,
Yeah.
And I mean, I honestly believe at the end of the day that it's going to go down, like you're alluding to, as probably one of the best works ever in the history of wrestling, because they are laying so much groundwork right now. I mean,
well,
I'll throw it back to you. I gave a little bit of my opinion. What's your thoughts?
So if things went down the way it looks like they did, to the fact that they put this together as quickly as they did is equally impressive to me. So let's rehash. And I agree, Mike, work for sure. Let's rehash what we know has happened. All right. We know that over the past few weeks, there's been some speculation that MJF is disgruntled about his pay.
Yes.
Tony Khan keeps bringing in these ex-WWE guys, and they're making bank while MJF, who's been there since day one, is not getting paid what he thinks he is worth. That's
right.
Legit, right? So then it comes out, this is last weekend, right before Double or Nothing, there's a fan fest, and all of a sudden MJF no-shows the fan fest. So it's the rumors start getting circulated that he's no-showed something. We think he's booked a flight out of Las Vegas. Now, genius. Meltzer, Alvarez are in on it because they're just letting this little bit of info out. Meltzer says, I can confirm he's in Vegas, but I don't know for how long, that kind of thing. Right. He comes out. What do? They put the Wardlow. This was the money match, right? They put it on first, Jason. They put it on first, right out of the gate. MJF versus Wardlow, the thing that they've been building, in your words, for years, probably the last year and a half to 2. They've been building this stuff going on with MJF and Wardlow. Finally, time to pay it off, and they put the match on first. The story is Tony is trying to keep people tuned in to the pay-per-view and not flipping over to the Game 7 of whatever playoff series in the NBA was going on. If that's the case, then that's genius to me.
Right.
If that's really what he was trying to do, that is genius, because not only do you have people wondering if he's even going to show up on the show, but to put it on first, he goes out, he takes 10 power bombs from Wardlow, takes the pin, and then we don't know what's going on until Wednesday night, and that's the conversation by itself.
I mean, I agree. I mean, here's the thing, and also Mike alluded to it, and I want to talk about this. And you also talked about, like the outgoing person who's gonna kind of hand over the title, or kind of like kind of give the other person the rub, right? They go out there, they're gonna lose, but usually they're not gonna lose like that. They're gonna lose. They're gonna have a good showing. They're gonna give it the 0-1-4, but they're still gonna come up short. No matter babyface or heel, someone's gonna come up short. But this comes out as like, it kind of gives the impression that, MJF just doesn't give a damn.
Right.
He just like, you know what? The whole world's against me. You're all just out to get me. You obviously don't care. I'm not getting paid what I deserve. You all just, taking advantage of me. I'm the one who put this company on the map. You're bringing all these WWE guys over here. You're paying them all this money. I'm still getting paid, circa 2019 money. And blah, blah, blah. And so he just comes out there and just gets, like you said, annihilated. So I feel like that's also another great example of him just coming out there, not even putting any like real effort into it, just goes out there and just gets whipped.
And who gets lost in every bit of this? Who gets lost in every bit of it? Wardlow.
Right, exactly. Yes.
I mean, this is supposed to be his shining moment.
Right.
And nobody is talking about Wardlow, even after the match when he's won in such dominating fashion.
Right.
They made him look like an absolute animal, right? They made him look like a beast with 10 power bombs.
Right.
But nobody's talking about Wardlow.
And the other caveat with that, I think, also is, caveat's not the right word, but the other perspective and point I have for that is that not only is no one talking about Wardlow, before they were saying who's going to be next for Wardlow, like where's his story going next, like who's next. But now that was talked all the way up to the point of what happened, right? But now they're saying, well, will there be a rematch with MJF? Is this story actually over? So Wardlow can't even break away from this. Again, it's like MJF has inserted himself back into that storyline, and people are still talking about MJF over Wardlow. It wasn't like Wardlow going on to like take on like Bryan Danielson, or Wardlow's going on to take on Miro, or somebody of equal huge level that would kind of people want to see, right? It's like he can't go on to do that. He's now being dragged back into the conversation with MJF, which he just thought he put an exclamation point on.
Right. That was
supposed to be. And here we are, like you said, still talking about MJF, not even Wardlow. Yeah.
Well, so let's talk about why I think it's a work before we get into the big promo, the new pipe bomb that everybody's talking about.
Right.
Let's go back to the Polish Power, Ivan Putski. Nice.
Yeah. These are all people that John Mangini actually, I think, knows personally.
Bruno's a Pittsburgh guy, right, John?
Right.
Bruno's a Pittsburgh guy. There's the connection there.
I heard Mangini sat on Bruno Sammartino's lap as a baby and used to feed him.
What do you get? No, I heard Mangini's the guy that broke Bruno's neck, hitting him with a chair.
Yeah.
I thought that was Mangini that did that.
Right. Yeah.
No, but okay. So let's talk about this thing now. Now, Tony Khan, would you admit
no
that Tony? I think he would. Tony Khan will talk to anybody that will listen to him about AEW.
Right.
It doesn't matter if it's somebody that's got 1 million followers or somebody that's got 100 followers. He's going to talk to anybody. Do you think that if MJF legitimately no-showed this meet and greet and fans were irate because they'd spent their money and didn't get a chance to meet MJF, do you really think that Tony Khan would say, I have no comment about it?
Right.
He would be
True.
profusely apologizing. He'd be tweeting his ass off because that's what he likes to do. Twitterific Tony is like what I like to call him. Of course he would, but the fact that he's gone radio silent about all of this screams work. In addition, MJF's profile, picture, all that stuff has been taken off of the AEW website. Come on.
Right.
If it was a shoot, Tony Khan would do exactly what we were talking about earlier. He would starve MJF. He would say, oh, no, you're not getting out of your contract. I'm not firing you. I'm just not going to put you on television. What does he do? He gives him a live mic on a live show.
Right.
You know, so, no, it's 100% work. It's brilliant, but it's a work.
Yeah, I always think about, like, what he did to, Chavo. Like, he just, he bounced him publicly off everything. He just removed him from TV, removed him from the website, and then they kind of got into like a legit little Twitter war, and then they both talked about stuff, and you could tell like he was like talking about how he might have done things differently and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Like you said, he does a lot of stuff open and in public.
Yeah.
But with MJF, it's all kind of like cloak and dagger because, like you said, it's a work. Like he doesn't want to tip too much of his hand. Because then people who kind of like on the fence or really don't know much about that world will start being like, hold on, wait, what? So he just kind of has to do the whole like disassociate himself from everything to kind of let all the work take its place and start working its way through to really pay off at the end.
And the thing that got me was how much all of these dirt sheet guys bought into it. I mean, hook, line, and sinker bought into this whole thing about it being MJF's legitimately no showing or whatever. But did you see him, Mike? I totally remember Ivan and Tito Santana tagging together. El Matador.
Oh man, that's some old school right there.
That's good stuff. Did you see the promo? Did you see it? You said you hadn't watched it in a couple weeks.
No, I'm gonna go back. I haven't watched the most recent week, but after talking to you, I'll spend the rest of the season.
Oh my gosh!
I'm sure it's on YouTube. I'm sure they have it on YouTube.
Yes, you've got to see the promo. I almost feel bad talking about it, but dude, he absolutely. The first thing he makes sure that everybody knows is he's talking as Max Friedman, not MJF. So boom, he's trying to make it real right out of the chute. And
That's
then
awesome.
he takes off on the fans, calls them uneducated marks, talks about how they tweet, thinking anybody gives a damn what they have to say because they don't.
Right. Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
Oh, it's so good. Then he starts in on why don't you why don't you like me? Why are you tweeting out that I'm an unprofessional piece of what? And he's dropping bombs left and right. And he says, is it because I am actually trained, unlike a lot of your faves? Is it because I don't drop my opponents on their heads? Is it because I don't chase star ratings and I don't admit to watching New Japan? Just all kind of stuff, dude. Just laying it out there, right? Then he starts talking about Tony Khan.
Oh man!
And he says he's talking about how he's not respected. That Tony's paying him the same thing that he's always been making while he's bringing all these ex-WWE guys, which got the biggest reaction from the crowd. Hey, Tony, would you pay me more if I was an ex-WWE guy? And then he finally just said, Tony, you belong. You assume a position of power, but the only position you should assume is behind the guardrail with the rest of these fans. And he ended it by saying, I want you to fire me, looking right at the camera. And the cameraman's counting him down. He said, don't you count me down, you piece of S. Don't count me down. Shut your mouth. And he looked at Tony like, camera right here. I want you to fire me, you effing Mark. Fire me. Fire me. And then the mic cut out on him. They did the whole, like they did with CM Punk. They just cut the sound to the mic off, you know. That's
awesome, man.
A thing of beauty.
That's awesome. And there's very few people who can pull that off.
Oh, my. No, yes, absolutely. He is the best. He's the best heel in the business. He might be the best promo in the business.
You know,
he's made himself a lot of money with this promo that he's done. He's made himself a lot of future money.
Oh, I'm sure. Well, here's the thing. I don't know how you thought. I don't know if you saw the whole MJ. If you watched all the MJF CM Punk promos leading up to their battle, they had 2 months roughly of promos they did on each other. And, everybody used to talk about how, CM Punk was always the best promo, always speaking from the heart, speaking from the gut, he made it really real for people. And you couldn't tell how much it might be work, how much of it's real, how much of it's a shoot, all that kind of stuff. But regardless, he was really good on the mic, regardless of what it was. He could make you believe or buy in on the next match or the next whatever he's working, angle or whatnot. But I have to tell you this. I think there's a 1 or 2 moments, if you watch CM Punk's face while they're doing their promos on each other in the ring, either CM Punk's a lot better actor than I'm going to give him credit for, or he has a couple moments where he realizes he cannot out-talk
not anymore.
MJF because he doesn't know how to come across stronger, better, more efficient on the mic. And so there's a lot of times where he just kind of shakes his head, doesn't know what to say.
Yeah.
And I think you don't have any moments so far. And everybody can come and have a bad day. Don't get me wrong, but MJF has not yet had that. Not that I've seen where he's been put on the spot or been in a situation that's weird or kind of catches him off guard, that he's not been able to come through with something golden. And something and it doesn't always have to be golden, but something that makes sense or makes you go, oh dang. Even when those that fan jumped the guardrail and try to attack everybody, and he whoops up on him and he never even breaks character. He just keeps going and calling that guy out and calling him a fat mark and blah 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 and all this stuff. I mean, that was a real situation. So I mean, these are the things that I think about, and I'm like, those have been moments that are guys that are really good on the mic. Again, Cody Rhodes, again, another guy I'm not his biggest fan by any stretch, but he can cut a promo. He knows how to evoke emotion, regardless if it's what he's wanting or not. And when him and MJF get together, you can tell MJF again it's like a master class in these things.
Oh man, he's so good, dude, and so young.
I mean, what is he? 24 years old now. I think he said
24.
Yeah, I mean, dude, let's be honest. I mean, he has easily 20 years. If he keeps that up, oh my gosh, dude. I mean, that's just
part of his promo alluded to exactly what you were just talking about. He said, he was talking to the fans and he said, I can make you feel. And I don't have to, and talking about all the other wrestlers in the back. And unlike the boys in the back, I don't have to do a bunch of BS to get you there. And that's exactly what you said.
Yeah.
There's very few people that can do that. They can elicit real raw emotion from the crowd with just a microphone in his hand, without even touching somebody.
Right.
Very few people can do that. And he's one of them. And yeah, I absolutely agree with you. I think he is not only as good as Punk ever was, he's probably better.
Oh yeah,
he's probably better.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I'm a CM Punk fan. For the most part, I'm not gonna get into the reasons why I'm not a big fan. I'm I'm a fan of CM Punk. I'm not really a fan of Phil Brooks. Let's just go that route.
Could it be some of the attire that he's been wearing out on TV?
Yeah, a lot of his personal social commentary he does with his t-shirt. I wish there would be a wrestler, maybe MJF, anybody who would challenge him on that, like wear their own t-shirts, wear their own whatever it is. Right. I would like to see that, quite frankly, but that's a rabbit hole we don't need to go down necessarily. But as far as like you said, I mean, I think, quite frankly, there's very few wrestlers aside from like some of the legendary like legacy wrestlers that's already like built their like brand over the years. I don't see how anybody could get into a promo with MJF and not come out like worse than going in. Like you're going to come out worse. So it's probably dangerous to do that. Like I know that surprisingly Brian Pillman Jr. kind of held his own a little bit on a couple of things that he did, but at the end of the day, it was just like a high schooler swatting a fifth grader's basketball out of their hands. But it's just surprising. It's just surprising in how much he, like you said, and he has to still be careful, regardless of what he says or does. The world we live in, he cannot truly go like all full heel. Like, they talk about that in Tropic Thunder, if you know what I mean. You can't go full something because you lose out on all that. He can't go full heel in modern society because people will lose their minds, and they can't separate the art from the artist. So he has to be careful, and the fact that he is able to elicit, like you said, that type of heat and that type of reaction with limited vernacular, limited stories that could go too extreme, limited things that you can discuss about someone's appearance, all the things that previous heels could use to their advantage, that he can't use those things. It is to me very impressive because a lot of people say, "Oh, that's cheap heat." Those things were cheap heat. You know what?
He's been working for years. It's been working for as long as wrestling's
If it didn't work, people wouldn't have done it. That's end of story.
Well, if it never worked, what was Jake the Snake Roberts? Every time he took that snake out, what was that? Cheap heat.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, it's
exactly. I mean, it could be. So, with all that being said, I just find it very impressive that MJF in today's political climate does what he does. It does it so well, and that there ain't nobody currently working that I'm aware of that could even get in the ring and be even 25-50% of the promo that he can do in the ring with him right now. CM Punk's probably close in a lot of ways, but outside of him, there's very few people that can get in that ring and like make you believe the stuff that they're saying is legit.
Yeah, there'd be one thing that would impress me more about MJF.
What would that be, sir?
Could he do the same thing in an even more restricted environment of WWE?
Right. And that
at least in AEW, he can drop bombs on live TV and talk like people talk, dropping S bombs and GD this and at least he can do that there. He can't even do that on WWE TV. So can he garner the same responses and reactions when he can't use 4-letter words?
Or when he's referring to he wishes that Brian Pillman's mom had an abortion, or like she caught him in his mouth instead, and all this other stuff.
Oh my God!
I mean, you couldn't do that on WWE. There's no way you get away with that. There is absolutely no way, because those type of promos is attitude era promos, quite frankly. And
a couple of them are worse. I think that particular one you're talking about.
Right. So I mean, which I think is funny. There's a little side note. You know that Matt Caster got in trouble with one of his raps about 7 months ago.
About
I think it's funny because
the Olympics.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
And so he got his hand slapped on that, and he has to have all his material signed off on by Khan before he does it, apparently now. But then you let MJF go out there and, like you said, say all the things that he's saying that's so inappropriate, and that's okay. So I really don't know where the line is for AEW quite yet. It hasn't been very distinct. Or like you said, the WWE is very distinct. It's like Disney. You're not going past Disney. They've been tiptoeing a little bit more with NXT stuff, with like a lot more focus on the females' bodies and things when they were before, kind of moved away from that.
Right.
So we'll see if that's going to be the new way they go. But as of right now, on the main two, products, you don't see that very often of anything aside from Disney World type stuff.
Well, he said during that promo too that he is the second biggest minute-by-minute draw in the company since the company started. I'm assuming number one would be Punk.
Right.
But he said he is the number 2 minute-by-minute draw in the company. He said, if you don't believe me, ask stat guy Tony. Talking about Tony Khan keeping up with all kind of numbers like that. But I believe that. I believe it because I'm telling you, as a primary WWE guy, he is the reason I watch AEW. He is the reason that I watch AEW.
You don't watch it for Malachi Black? That's terrible.
I didn't watch WWE for hell. I don't even remember what Alistair. But I don't even remember what his name was now. No, I didn't. No, I do not watch it for Malachi Black, nor do I watch it for Bryan Danielson.
I do like Bryan Danielson, but I kind of feel like he's turned into a one-trick pony also. Like, he hasn't had any good matches in a while. So we'll see.
Yeah. You and I differ on our opinions of Tony Khan's booking and storytelling. I do believe he's had a couple of home runs, but he's had more swings and misses than he has grand slams.
Okay, so with that being said, that's will be interesting kind of conversation, which WWE has no storylines. So that's not even something we can even talk about.
Very, very few.
And then whatever storylines they attempt to have are like a idiot's guide to storytelling and type of storytelling. So what outside the MJF one we just discussed, what would be another in the last few months? What would be a one, if there is one or two hits that they've had, and what are a couple misses in your opinion on storylines so far that you haven't connected with, or ones that you've been kind of bought into? Maybe they're not the best in the world, but you're like, I want to see where the end of this, I want to see where this goes. Let's go there.
Well, the grand slams to me have been anything MJF's been associated with, whether it's the Pinnacle breaking off from Chris Jericho's faction, whether it was the CM Punk MJF feud, the MJF Wardlow feud, things that blur. And I think this is true for either company. The best storylines are the storylines that have just enough reality to make you wonder exactly what we've been talking about. Is it taped or is it live or is it Memorex? You know what I mean?
Right.
Is it real or is it those ones that have the little bit of realism, the little bit of reality, the stuff that Cody was doing prior to leaving, when we knew he was working without a contract and stuff like that. Those are the ones that get me. The misses so far to me have been the Bucks and Hardys.
Yeah.
Just hasn't quite lived up to what I think folks thought it would. Me and you have talked endlessly about, I don't feel like he booked CM Punk correctly right out of the gate, nor did he book Bryan Danielson right out of the gate. I think his business could be a lot further along with some different choices in how he's using some of these guys. You've never had more eyeballs tune in than you do when CM Punk comes into your company. That is the time to push him to the top of the company and put the belt on him. Right. Not 3, 4, 5, 6 months later, but that's neither here nor there. It is what it is.
Well, I said, I think a lot of it, CM Punk's mentioned in interviews that Tony Khan's the boss, but he has a little bit of a say on what he's doing. So I know we've talked about this before also, that I honestly think like CM Punk has chosen not to come straight in and go for a title shot till now.
Oh, no, I don't disagree with you.
Yeah, so I'm to go back to your point though. I know he's apparently him and Bryan Danielson are actually both injured in like real life. Like they both have been injured. So I'm interested to find out once this gets worked through, is he going to stay and like do commentary, which he does a lot anyways? He'll still be like a part of the pulse of AEW while he's working through his injury. But once he gets back and really starts working again, I like what you were saying is like, is he going to end up catapulting them into the stratosphere? Because that's what people want to see. And that, you know, like they can actually have him do a couple big, you know, matches, you know, connected to pay-per-views and have him like, you know, do a couple big wins, kind of like a Roman Reigns thing that, you know, Roman Reigns' storyline is the only one in WWE that I do understand that's been like consistent. And even though I feel like it's kind of like spinning its wheels now, they had a lot of traction for a long period of time. So doing something like that with CM Punk, I think would be good. I do not want to see him be like a one-pump chump. And then, like, he keeps it for, like, a couple months and he's done by the end of the year or whatever with it. Like,
well, I don't want to see, like, hurt, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I know he's hurt.
And they're so, like, having an interim. They're going to have an interim world champion.
Oh, really?
Have you heard this?
No, let's hear this.
Okay, so they're going to have a battle royal, I think, on Wednesday. The winner of that battle royal is going to face off one-on-one against Jon Moxley. The winner of that match is going to go on to face somebody at Forbidden Door for the interim AEW title. What better? This is how this whole thing could get even better, Jason, with MJF, is if he figures – dude, he's stone cold right now. Think about this now. Think about Stone Cold right at the beginning before he just exploded. He is the anti-hero. He's going to be a tweener. He's going to be a tweener babyface where he's going to, you know, be a bad guy, but everybody's going to love him. That's what's happening. If he figures out a way to upset Tony Khan and thwart Tony Khan's plans to erase him, right? If he figures out a way how to win this battle royal, and then he beats Jon Moxley, and then he goes and he becomes the interim heavyweight champion.
Man, that would be good. I'm smiling just thinking about that. That's true.
That would be tremendous.
Yeah, that would be good.
I like that. Whenever I read that, I just think, you know why? Because I'm a wizard.
Because I'm a wizard. I like that. He has that new shirt. I'm a wizard. So I mean, like Chris Jericho, dude. Again, talking about somebody like a CM Punk or an MJF, like the guy just knows how to do it. You know what I'm saying? Like he just knows every time a character gets stale or doesn't get over, he figures something out.
Yep.
And like I swear, I'm sure you and I would agree. I'm sure Mike would, and anybody else who watches this. If anybody else would have done what he goes, shoots a fireball and goes, I'm a wizard. Like if that's anybody else, that's like turn off the channel heat. Like that's like, what are you doing? Like that is so stupid. But when Chris Jericho does it, it's totally believable. It's like in his character. It's like something that you buy into, even though it's so absurd and obnoxious. But I mean, like anybody else doing that. I mean, even a character that is like popular or people like, you know, even if they just did that, you would just be like, what in the world? But Jericho is completely 100% believable.
Yes, he's so good, man. And now he's doing this hair versus hair thing. It's going to be great. I don't know what they're going to do with that, but it's exciting stuff that's happening. I'm anxious to see what they're going to do.
So let me ask you this: let me do some fantasy booking real quick with you while we're kind of talking about some of this stuff. So, what would you do when Kenny Omega comes back? Because he's going to have so many opportunities to be plugged into multiple different storylines that could do really well. And I'll be the first one to admit, I did not even know who Kenny Omega was until AEW popped up. I knew he was a big deal in Japan and blah, 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 whatever. I'm not here to talk about that. I'm talking about the Kenny Omega I've known since 2019 and forward. I think, again, a character, dude. That guy got his character down. He's so believable. He plays that character to a perfect T. He's a great athlete. I mean, the stuff that he's done in the ring that I've watched, at least, and I thought was great. Yeah. I mean, like, I'm just like MJF, Bryan Danielson, CM Punk, Moxley. I mean, they can go back and revisit Moxley stuff. I mean, where would you like to see him show up? Because I believe in the next few months he's going to come back off the shelf and he's going to show up. So, I mean, where do you see him?
Not at the top of the card.
I feel like it's been kind of crowded right now.
Well, under normal circumstances, I would say that he could come in, you know, like with CM Punk. If CM Punk was a champ, if they didn't have what they have brewing right now, if it was if it was not happening, you could do a Kenny Omega CM Punk feud for the belt. I'll be honest, I would not bring Kenny Omega back right now. And if I did, I think your next money match is probably him and Bryan Danielson.
Yeah.
I think that right now what needs to happen, the crowd is getting behind MJF. You've got this anti-hero, reality lines blurred. That's your rocket ship. And your heel is got to be CM Punk. That's got to be your heel.
Which is crazy to think. A month ago you would never have said that, but now you are right.
Yes, I mean they've literally switched places. They've switched places. But I think that's what's got to happen at the top of the card, because that's all everybody's talking about, and you've got to go with what's bringing people to your product, you know. But if you're going to bring Kenny Omega back, the second best place to bring him back would probably be coming up with something with Bryan Danielson. I don't get this whole Blackpool Combat Club thing with William Regal. That they need to stop with all that and just, I don't know. I don't like Mox and Bryan. Like you limit yourself on what you can do creatively with a team as opposed to individuals. You know what I mean? But
right.
You know, I don't know, man. I think that's where I would bring Kenny back if I brought him back at all. I may just tell him, hey, look, let's just work behind the scenes, EVP, work behind the scenes, because right now we want to bring you back in a prominent spot, and right now the prominent spot's being taken up by these other two people.
What about this? Now, this is maybe more. Because I'm a Marxist wrestler. So I'm gonna ask you what your thoughts are. I don't believe that he's at the top level by any stretch. I think he has the potential to get there, but I feel like he'd have to, again, like he needs to have a storyline that gets him in there somehow. You know what I'm saying? Like he's not the Kenny Omega who's been gone for a handful of months and get dropped back in, and it makes sense, right? Like no one's gonna be like, no, what do you mean Kenny Omega's back in the top? Like it makes sense with him. But what about this? Before he went out, he was like dominating until he lost the TNT Championship. Miro.
He's back now. He's back.
Oh, is he? I missed it. So what happened with him?
He came back against Johnny Elite.
Nice. 2 ex-WWE guys.
Get this, Jason. It was the match right after MJF's promo.
That's a tough match.
Where he was talking about, but I think, again, if this ran across Tony Khan's mind was another stroke of brilliance, I may be giving him too much credit. I don't know. But right after MJF cuts a promo about all these damn ex-WWE guys, you follow that up with a match with 2 ex-WWE guys.
Right, John Morrison and Rusev. Nice.
And I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt that that was his idea. It was a good idea.
Did they have a good match? Was it a good match or was it a squash?
It was a squash. I mean, they tried to make John Morrison look not like a jobber, but that's what he was. But Miro, Dude, Miro looks like $1,000,000. That is probably who I would put in a program with Wardlow right now.
Right. I don't want the thing I worry about with Miro is that I feel like you said, they worked this so long with Wardlow to put him in a program with like Miro, and then Wardlow beat Miro is going to make Miro look weak again, which was what happened when he got beat by freaking Sammy flipping Guevara,
right?
Which was the most ridiculous booking I've ever seen in my life. You built this guy up for like 6 months as a monster who like destroyed everybody, including Darby Allin, who's nowhere near his size, but because of his crazy antics, is a believable person that could beat almost anybody, which I like that about Darby Allin. Like, he's so reckless abandonment that you don't really, his size doesn't play a factor into a lot of some of the programs he does. But then Miro beats him handily, which is good. And then he goes on a streak of just destroying everybody. Lance Archer, everybody in between.
Yeah.
And then he gets beat by freaking 22-year-old Sammy Guevara flipping around the ring with his Panda Bear outfit on and stuff. And I'm just like, what in the world? So I'm hoping they do not send him in to job out to some of the bigger names. And then he goes down the card.
Right. As you're sitting there talking about that, I actually take back what I said, because you're right. You've got two guys in Miro and Wardlow that you don't really want to see either one of them take a L, you know?
Well, it's not right now.
So maybe that's not the right thing to do right now. Maybe it's putting Miro up against jobbers to just make him, just again, build him back up as an unstoppable force, right? But the thing is, he's getting over as a baby face with this whole Redeemer thing.
Right.
Like, people
did he cut, I don't mean to cut you off, did he cut a promo before or after with the Redeemer thing, or did he do anything talking about that, or did he just go in, crush Morrison and get out?
They did a pre-tape with him that was good, had some dramatic music and some of the stuff he was saying. Basically, he was telling his God that now he's not so sure that he cares what his God thinks.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, and you know, we'll see. But I mean, he got a big pop. I don't think people were expecting him to come out. Like, I don't. I mean, when you just told me that, I'm like shocked. So I'm sure if I would have been watching, I would have been like. Yeah, as soon as that pre-tape went off, they did Johnny Elite coming out to the ring, and then they hit his music, and it was like, it was like a legit kind of surprise reaction.
That's awesome.
But
I'm looking forward to catching that.
He looks like $1,000,000, dude.
Yeah, dude, he's so great. That's the thing, is that he is, and again, he's believable as a champion. He's believable as a monster. He's believable that his promos on this new Redeemer promos that he's been doing ever since he got away from the whole like video game thing, which, you know, has just been like working for him fantastically. I mean, he is awesome. I hope again, like we've been kind of alluding to, that he gets a run. Maybe some jobbers at first, but I want to see him go against some mid-card guys to build some of that level of like believability. So when he does go for a TNT championship again, or the AEW championship or whatever, like, it's like cemented that he is going to be able to show up and like destroy whoever. It's not like, I just don't want it to be a thing where he works that hard to get there and then he gets beaten again. Like, I'm like, it goes right back down. I'm like, I felt like that was like, what?
I was just thinking about this. This is what they could do. They could give him a run with the Ring of Honor World Championship.
That would be awesome.
They could put him with Samoa Joe after they finish this whole Joe versus Lethal and Sanjay Dutt, whatever thing they got going on.
Right.
While they're doing that, while they're getting Joe out of that, put Miro over a bunch of job guys, make him look like a beast, and then put them two together. Have Miro win the ROH World title. Then you've got you've got all kind of possibilities after that. But yeah, he's too good for him not to be prominently displayed on your program.
Yeah, I just think Miro is such a unique individual that has so much charisma, strength, body. He can cut a promo. Obviously, his in-ring skill is not to be like, he's like at the top level there. I mean, he's obviously can go in there and just mix it up with anybody and be 100% believable. Yeah, dude. Let me ask you this then. Let me ask you this question. Do you mind? Do you have time to keep going, or do you gotta get off?
Yeah, dude.
Okay. So let me ask you this. This is what I thought. We're talking about storylines earlier. We kind of alluded to this, like storylines that don't work for you. So the storyline that didn't work for me, it had a lot of potential. Then the wheels fell off. Was the America Top Team storyline. I loved what they were doing with it. The whole stuff with Cody and Brandy. I know some people were not really big fans of it, but I thought it felt real. Like Dan Lambert interjects so much reality into his promos that I honestly think he's probably not joking. Like, I think he believes what he's saying. Like, a lot of the stuff about like the marks and the fans and all the conservative perspective that he has on things, like, I believe that to be true. But what my point is that it got convoluted with the whole ridiculousness of Scorpio Sky and Sammy Guevara and the whole like Tay Conte stuff, and all that got ridiculous. So with that being said, now unless something's changed, Scorpio Sky now has the title back. Where do you want to see that kind of go? Let's get away from all the ridiculousness. Do you have any thoughts about that? Like, I want to see Ethan Page break away. I think he's another great talent that is kind of, I think, being handicapped by the tag team, like kind of quasi partnership with what's going on there. Again, I think it started out strong, but now I think it kind of the wheels fell off. So what's some of your thoughts about those kind of everybody involved in that and what you see moving forward, if you have any thoughts?
Yeah, it's got the whole thing's gotten lost in the weeds,
Yeah.
I think it's silly. I think it turned into something silly when Sammy Guevara and those folks break into the America's Top Team headquarters and bust up their trophy case to take a belt. Come on, that's ridiculous. I don't know. I don't know that can be salvaged, man. I don't know that storyline can be salvaged. They should figure out a quick way to end it. But you bring up a good point, and a point that I don't necessarily have an answer to, and that's, what do you do? They've got so many wrestlers on the roster. AEW has so many people on the roster. You can't possibly get them all in places that their talent probably wills them to be in, And I don't know what you do about that, because Ethan Page is good. I like Scorpio Sky. Sammy Guevara is good, as that kind of schmarmy, smart mouth heel. But then again, you already got that in what's the guy that's in Taz's little group?
Ricky Starks.
Ricky Starks, like, just, they got so many people that I don't know what you do. I don't know what you do with all of them.
Yeah,
because they could all potentially be doing great things. But
right, and Mike makes a good point. I agree. With so many great wrestlers right now in the AEW that you have no place for them. What about Ring of Honor? Like, when's that TV contract going to happen? When are we going to see something with that? That might solve this problem quite a bit, that you move some of your stars or potential stars that are kind of getting like lost in the shuffle and move them over to Ring of Honor and let them do like a, cross promotional work for both, but give them that opportunity to like actually work good matches and not just squash matches on Dark and Elevation, but also give them a title run, give them some opportunities to continue to like grow as performers and as well as like, athletes or whatever. And then, maybe make a run back to AEW. I don't know, because, I'm not for sure how I feel about back and forth, but I feel like there has to be something, because there's so many wrestlers with AEW that you're gonna have to do something with those guys to go over to Ring of Honor. I don't know how you don't do it.
You don't want people to forget that there is a Ring of Honor,
Right.
You just want to continue to drop those little morsels that, hey, we're still here, we're still a thing, have their belt show up on TV. Here's my thing about Ring of Honor in a TV deal. And this goes back to me, my pessimism about AEW. And your eternal optimism. They have yet to hit the number that they did their very first television, right? Their very first Wednesday Night Dynamite. They have not duplicated that number, and it was a decent number. It was maybe 1.5 million, 1.4, 1.5 million. They have yet, even with CM Punk coming in after 7 years, they have yet to duplicate that number. They're usually running around 850 to 900,000. Half of that for Rampage on Friday night. I don't know that they're going to get a slot for Ring of Honor on TV. So then, is it a YouTube only? Well, and that's the who watch. I mean, how many people really watch Elevation? You know what I mean? I've never watched a single episode of Elevation, so that's not going to accomplish what you just described to keep Ring of Honor alive. You know what I mean? But I don't know that that Warner Media is going to put another show on TV that's going to get 800,000 people to watch. Maybe they will. I don't know.
Yeah, it does raise an interesting point. I feel like they have to do something, like you said. There has to be something that happens with that, and they are making a concentrated effort to, like, you know, pop in and have them show up on Rampage and Dynamite, and also even Dark and Elevation. There's been some crossover there talking about doing stuff. So I do see they're trying to make it stay relevant. But like you said, are they doing all that for the outcome to be, you know, some random slot on a random day that no one hardly watches, and then that's what you're putting out there.
Right.
Now, I have heard that they thought about maybe making Ring of Honor more like NXT, where it's a, you know, promotional, you know, grounds to start, you know, those things. But I kind of feel like that's already what Dynamite, or that's already what Dark and Elevation is in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
So unless they take those things away or rebrand it as Ring of Honor, and even though, like you said, it's not going to be nowhere near the eyeballs on it as it would if it's on television.
Yeah.
It at least keeps it relevant, and then maybe if there's enough traction, maybe they could try to parlay that into something else, like maybe doing a premium live event of some sort or whatever.
Now,
I don't know. I mean, what's your thoughts there?
I'm thinking that all of this is moot if Tony Khan buys himself a streaming service.
Wow.
You buy a streaming service, now you need content.
Right.
So now you do have a place for Ring of Honor and all your other shows. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. What do you know? What I heard that they might be in partnership or will be with HBO Max and all that, and do something with that. I mean, you know, I don't know if that's the case. What does that actually look like? I'm not for sure. Like you said, they may need content.
Just like the Peacock deal with WWE, you just put all the content on that. And I think people came up with HBO Max just because it's a Warner Media owned entity. You know what I mean? I don't necessarily see it. I don't necessarily see them putting wrestling on HBO Max, but I could be wrong. I mean, I could be wrong.
Well, what about, we haven't really talked a lot about this, but I was going to ask you, the one thing they have not done with AEW, which they have done with the men's AEW wrestling, they have not brought over hardly any, if I can think of, women from WWE. There's been very few WWE women wrestlers over there. There's been, I mean, Serena Deeb is the only one you can kind of say that was a WWE wrestler there, you know, even though she hadn't been in there.
Ruby Soho, yeah,
that's right. But those are the only two I can think of that's been kind of quasi-prominent. And Ruby Soho, quite honestly, hasn't been on TV a lot until this recent, like, Owen Hart thing.
And she
Up until that, what was that?
And she got beat.
Yeah, and then she got beat, right. So, I guess Toni Storm, I forgot about her. She just showed up recently. But she was NXT more than she was WWE, really, quite frankly.
Now they brought in Ember Moon.
Oh, that's true. Well, now I've said that, but now here we are. So maybe I'm wrong. But I honestly feel the one thing they have done with the AEW women is that even though they have brought in some of this other talent, the original AEW women are still prominent top for the most part. Like even Thunder Rosa, who was NWA, she started coming over a year and a half, 2 years ago, doing like a cross promotional thing, and she felt like an AEW wrestler, even though she wasn't technically until she signed, because she'd been there for quite a while. So I mean, but like like we said, Toni Storm, I think that there's some plans for her coming up down the road, but like she hasn't really made it to where she's in the contention for a top billing quite yet. Ruby Soho's done a couple big matches, but a lot of times she's wrestling like on Dark and Elevation right now still. And then Ember Moon, we'll see about her. I think she's going by Athena right now.
Athena, yeah, that's right.
So, I mean, we'll see. I'm assuming, I don't know much about her. I know that, she hadn't really done much with AEW or WWE, it felt like, for quite a while either. So we'll see what her situation looks like. But most of the main people that are in what I feel like a lot of the main storylines right now or are mostly are AEW talent. So I don't know what the difference is between the two. Maybe there's just not enough. WWE hasn't let go a lot of their women talent quite yet, like they did with their men's talent. What's your thoughts there?
I'll flip the script on you a little bit and say that I think of the two divisions, AEW's women division could benefit from some more ex-WWE women, because I think that's their weakest. I think that's their weakest division is their female division. That being said, now, to me, if I'm Tony Khan, my two prized possessions, and I don't really call people possessions, but you know what I mean. My two prized studs is MJF and Jade Cargill.
Oh my gosh, yes, Jade Cargill. Man, talk about $1 million, like legit.
Oh my goodness, man. Those are my
She's gonna be the Goldberg, dude. She's gonna be the female version of the Goldberg.
She just has the most unique look. She's chiseled out of stone. She's gorgeous. You legitimately think she could rip your freaking head off. She just got to get better. I mean, she's got to get better work-wise. She's just got to get better in the ring, but she's got everything else.
Right.
Yes, Mike. I love me some Jade too, man.
Yeah. The other thing with Jade Cargill, surprisingly for me, is that I feel like she's not too bad of a talker for being so new to the game. Like
she's getting better there.
Yeah, like I know they put her with Mark Sterling to kind of help out with that. But I mean, quite frankly, I like the fact that she cuts him off now and tells him to shut up and get away from me. And I think I feel like I don't want the baddie thing to kind of lower her appeal. I feel like that might lower her stock a bit. I kind of like, well, what are we doing with this right now? Are they going to be kind of like, I don't know. I don't know how I feel because she doesn't need people to help her. That's the thing. And like if you inject now women that are helping her win matches or like be distractions or whatever, I feel like that cheapens what she's been doing, which is like dominating everybody. So now all of a sudden you're having these two girls running around the ring and all that stuff. I'm just kind of like, do we really need that for Jade Cargill? Like she just is just, she hasn't really had a couple big matches against the top stars of AEW quite yet. But I feel like it has to be coming soon. Like at this point, you can't hold her back too much longer.
I agree. And the counterpoint to what you said about having the girls that are helping her win and stuff like that, I always feel like that could amplify her babyface turn.
That's true.
So when it's time for her to go babyface, she takes down all of them women that were so-called helping her or whatever. She turns on them, drops all of them, and boom, now we're off to the races with her as a babyface. So, I think there's some room there, but
you got to be careful with that, my opinion.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with her kind of having some lackeys because it's working with Roman Reigns. To me, I think that the Usos being playing the part of his lackeys or whatever is very similar to what they're doing with Jade.
That's true. We'll see how it shakes out. I agree. If they do it the right way, okay, great. Everybody's happy. It's a good payoff, and it's something you can invest in. Right now, the whole thing with Red Velvet, she was a good guy until all of a sudden she wasn't. That's never been explained, so that makes me wonder what's going on. Because she actually had beef, big-time beef, multiple times with Jade, and now everything's just fine. Like, that hasn't been discussed. And I know Tony Khan's really good about making a payoff for everything, so I hope there's a payoff with that. Like, there's some kind of explanation. Maybe she's trying to trick Jade, and maybe that might be the thing. Like, goes back to what you're saying. Like, she's trying to trick Jade into believing she's a baddie, and then when she has her back turned, she gets her or something, and like that might be the heel turn or the baby face turn that we're looking for, or something. Maybe that might be a cool angle or whatever. But right now, it doesn't really make sense for me. But I mean, it's still pretty new, so we'll see how it shakes out because I want to give it its time. But I think, like again, I was like, did Goldberg show up with lackeys? No, he never showed up with like. Did Stone Cold show up with lackeys? No. You know, like that's just like those are the things I think about. So we'll see how it, like I said, goes. But like you said, I feel like at this point, there's not really much more she needs to prove at the TBS title level. So I feel like she needs to lose that in some way or do like a joint combination of World Championship TBS or something. And somehow she loses the TBS, but becomes a champion. Title. Yeah, there has to be something here. And honestly, there ain't nobody in the division right now that's even believable that could beat her like in any real scenario.
Well, the money match is her and Britt, right?
Right.
But that's the only money match to me in the whole women's division.
Yes, I agree.
So, yep, we'll have to see how it goes, man.
That's good, man. Well, maybe we can leave it right there. We're closing out on an hour and a half, so I appreciate you want to do this, man. This was great. Well, maybe need to do this. Maybe we try to. I know we talked about this in the past, but we need to try to make an effort to maybe once a month just kind of recap what we've seen over the previous month, and just kind of talk about the ins and outs. Because I do, like I said, watch enough of the highlights of WWE to be dangerous and kind of keep up with it. But being able to just talk about the different promotions is always a good time. So I appreciate you reaching out today, man. Thank you.
Yeah, man, I enjoyed it as always. You're a Renaissance man.
What can I say? That's why my sponsors pay me the big bucks. So, well,
who's sponsoring this video, by the way?
Ben Gay. For how long you say?
That sounds like a personal problem, buddy.
Right. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and close it on that note. And until next time, guys, thanks for watching. Peace.
See ya.